that was really cool. I love the whole meerkat area, and then the first game.
Yeah, I like the weddings as well. The probably my favorite is the where you're on the dog in the dark, and you have to bring the dog with you, to carry you over the, the poisonous.
And when talking about the wedding, you got to talk about Skulldozer, because that was awesome, and I liked it so much that I made a terrible attempt to copy it on PSP with whatever that level was.
Oh, it was better than terrible attempt. No, it was a dingo down under, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, was there slowdown, or there was some issue? Oh, I remember what it was. If you grabbed a sponge and you dropped, then you just went into a constant cycle of death. Did it ever happen to you?
No. I managed to break your level some other fashion. I can't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't really breaking because the save point moved along with you, but like there was this epic chase with the bricks falling and all this stuff, but instead you would just fall down every single hole because it was all timed. Like as it moved, you would fall down each hole or in order, and then you would just be at the end. So instead of getting this epic thing, you just die over and over again. Yeah. And that kind of sucked, but yeah. I loved the Skulldozer, and I loved playing that. It seemed like, was there a trophy for getting a high score, or was it just acing it? I forget. I remember playing that over and over again, and I never really got tired of it. It was really good.
I think it was just acing. I don't think there was a specific trophy for that level.
Okay.
But I played that one a lot. That was a really good one.
I think my favorite was the Dancer's Court or Magician's Court or something. The one that had all the like belly dancers where they were all moving in funny ways and you were actually like climbing along them. And when you went one way, they would move into a different way. For some reason that one always stuck with me, and I always wanted to play that one over and over again. As opposed to most levels, I really wasn't all that interested in playing a lot.
Well, there's always the bunker, the infamous bunker, which is kind of something that the PSP story mode levels are missing, and I mean that in a good way. And that is like mind-numbing frustration. Trying to ace the bunker was really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people have got it, but you kind of have to be really on the verge of hardcore to chase after acing that level. You have to be good, and then you have to want it as well.
Are you saying PSP levels don't have that?
They're not as hard. It wasn't as hard to ace all of the story mode on the PSP at all. It was much more of a kind of a fun experience to me. I really enjoyed. They took it down a notch, right? Which is, well, hey, that's my style. I like it, and it's super easy.
So maybe I just got super terrible, but I actually felt that, not including the bunker, that the PSP levels were harder to ace in general than the PSP levels were. I don't know. I remember making a post about that or commenting on a post about that, and there were a few people that felt that way, but I think it's really just all, were you on your game when you did it, and how did it go? Because I was able to ace them all, and I did it all in a matter of a few days, so it wasn't like the end of the world, but I had a hard time on something like, there was the Secret Agent-ish level with the Secret Agent music. I remember just tearing my hair out.
That was Flying Saucers. Yeah. The one where the laser beams, and you had to hang between the laser beams, and oh boy. That was not lots of fun. Maybe it's just because the levels are a little shorter.
Yeah, and that is one thing. I think they were harder, but they were shorter. So it was, the problem with the bunker was it was at the very end of the level where you had to run through those rotating discs. So you had to play through everything, and then you get to that, and no, it was not pretty.
Well, that's my hardest one to ace was Boomtown on the original. That was really, you get to the whole level, and you get to the thing where you have to jetpack the impact bombs through that little weeds with the things that it comes slamming down, and it's just you get all the way to that point, all the way there, and then at the very end, don't you have a boss fight as well?
Mm-hmm.
That was really tough. So I felt that the level of frustration really came down a lot on the PS, and the same with LittleBigPlanet 2. I think it's of what I've played of it, and I have not finished the campaign. It seems to be a lot more focused on tough but enjoyable as opposed to hardcore.
Mm-hmm. I just finally got LittleBigPlanet 2 this week, and I've gotten to finish the entire Da Vinci, and I agree, it doesn't seem that hard, and I really, it's the first section, so the first section of all the games have been pretty easy. But one thing I have noticed is I played through LittleBigPlanet 1, every level I played through with my wife, and LittleBigPlanet 2, I'm playing every level through with my wife. And LittleBigPlanet 1, I believe she could die And if she died and I still didn't die all the way through the level, I think it still counted as an ace. And I know in Little Big Planet 2, we played one of the levels that was like one of the two levels that are combined into one level. And yeah, we finally managed to make it through with me not dying, and it still didn't ace it. So I was pretty sad about that.
I think it must be a change, because I do know that in LBP 1, at least when you're playing online, as long as one person didn't die, it would count it as an ace. So you'd have people that were kind of would specialize, hey, I'll help you ace the bunker. And you could go and kind of die and just watch them, and they would ace it for you.
And for the record, the grappling hook does make it harder to ace it in multiplayer, because my wife, I can't even count the number of times she would be like falling into the hole and like in a last-ditch effort would like grab me and pull me in with her.
It is pretty comical. At least it's funny, right? It is.
Oh yeah, it's funny. We only yelled at each other like 20 times. So.
Well, that's good. It's better than it's half as much as before, right?
Yeah.
So that's our community creation section, and that's Media Molecule. I guess my concluding thoughts on that are, yeah, they're the programmers of the game. They are creating levels using the tool set that everybody else uses, and I think that they've really done a great job of proving that they are as innovative as the community. There's still just so many outstandingly fantastic ideas in their levels. Like the Tower of Whoop, I think, is just one of the all-time community favorites right now. It's nothing but one big bubble chain, and people are going nuts trying to top the high score. It is fun. Once you really get into it, it really is a fun level. So kudos to Media Molecule on staying par with things and inspiring them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move into the topic of the podcast, which we've actually started talking about already. And that's Little Big Planet for PSP 2, or what it would, LBP 2 PSP 2, LBP PSP 2, 1, whatever. Anyway, the next portable Little Big Planet game.
There's a lot of controversy around, they showed a video, and that's all anybody really has to go off of, except I believe that they've listed that in the upcoming set of games. But they showed a video too, and I actually haven't seen the thread, but you said you've seen a thread where a lot of people are arguing about the fact that the footage looks like it's just Little Big Planet 2 PS3 footage being played on a NGP, which I think is a lot of the footage they're showing. Like I know they showed Metal Gear Solid 4 on the NGP and all kinds of stuff where they just showed how quickly they could port stuff over, which is kind of good and kind of bad. But, in terms of a Little Big Planet, if they could make a Little Big Planet 2 on PSP, then I think everyone would be pretty happy, especially if they could make connectivity between the PS3 and the PSP.
The connectivity would be huge. That's something that not a lot of companies have well, I should say there's only really a couple of companies, but there's not a lot of games have really done well, including Sony. There's been just a few titles, a few developers that have actually supported it in any kind of meaningful way, connecting a portable version to the full version, right? See, Gran Turismo's done it, where you can import your PSP garage, your cars in your garage into the arcade mode of the PS3 version. There was, I think, Resistance Fall of Man had something where you would unlock some special armor or mode or something.
I think a lot of the GS games and PSP games that had like games that were on both PSP and PS3 did a good job of kind of unlocking content on one or the other, but none of them have really done what they could possibly, though I don't know how, they could possibly do with this, where, if you could actually take your create mode on the road with you, that I would be completely hooked then, because, I would have all the freedom I need to be able to create whenever I want to create. Because it's kind of a struggle sometimes, because I might skew a little more towards PS3 at times, but then I'm limited to only a certain time, and maybe my wife doesn't want me creating, she might want to watch TV, might want to play another game. Or PSP, where maybe I'll be feeling more like PS3, but I know I can't do that on the road, so I do PSP instead. Whereas now it's like the same game or the same experience on both, and I can be creating whenever, wherever I want. It would be so awesome.
So that'd be like if I were to ask you what would be top on your wish list, it would be seamless connectivity between the two games.
Yeah, I'd say so, but then again, I almost wonder if I would end up slapping myself. Like, I guess they could still do that, but I'd also like to see a lot of touchscreen based stuff, because it would be really nice to be able to do a lot of drag and dropping, resizing with your finger, stretching, drawing. I mean, that's stuff that wouldn't be on the PS3. So, I mean, if you had to choose between the two, would you take perfect connectivity or a game that could actually create better than the PS3?
I would lean, if I had to pick one or the other, I'd go for ease of creation.
Okay,
just because, well, by the time, Little Big Planet, okay, I'll call it Little Big Planet Portable 2. How about that? By the time it comes out, Little Big Planet 2 will have been a year old.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Little Big Planet 3 going to come out? I mean, so we're kind of assuming that it would be, on par with all PS3 games, and we know that's not really true. And not always will that be true. So while the connection would be nice, I don't think it would last. Whereas a robust create mode where you could drag and drop, like you said, and stretch with your fingers and rotate would be very, very useful.
Yeah.
I was hoping they were gonna implement the Move controls, PlayStation Move controls into create mode on Little Big Planet 2, and disappointed to see that they didn't. So I think this is a big opportunity for them to try it again.
They were still going to do that; it just wasn't going to happen at launch.
Well, that is what I understand as well. So we can keep our fingers crossed. If we're talking about the NGP that has a touchpad on the back and the touchscreen on the front, things like being able to switch layers by tapping on something, right? Tap it on the front to send it back, tap it on the back to send it forward. Stretching something, pinching and rotating it like you would on an iPhone or an iPad. Would really make the clunkiness of creating go away to some degree.
Yeah, I also imagine you could have a lot easier zoom than just L and R or L2 R2 by actually being able. I almost imagine the front screen being able to stretch materials and stuff like that, and the back touchpad being able to zoom in out super easy with double or with multi-touch being able to you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, there's so much possibility. I think I haven't really thought about it that way, but I think I agree with you that by the time this comes out, it really would be better just to have an even better Little Big Planet, than Little Big Planet 2 on the NGP, rather than just having Little Big Planet 2 again on the NGP with connectivity. That would almost be a little disappointing if that's what they did.
You know what I would really like? I take it back. My number one thing that I want is levels published on the portable platform to be on the same community moon as those published on the PS3, and vice versa. That's really what I want.
Yeah, and I mean, really, if it can pull off what the PS3 can pull off, I mean, I say, why can't they do it? I mean, I don't really understand how the servers work, I guess, but it would be awesome if they could somehow do that. And another thing I would love to see is if they can't do that, then at least incorporate it in LBP.me.
I totally agreed. Totally agreed. I would view it as you can still go and create levels in LBP 1 and then play them in LBP 2. So I would think this would be kind of along those lines, right? It would really help to bring the community together, and it would a lot more levels to play for everybody, and then still very fun stuff that would going to come from the portable side as well, I would imagine.
And I would really hope that they can get this out very close to the launch of the NGP, right when it's thriving, everyone's getting into it, and people are picking up the game because they're excited about the system. Because I think one of the things that probably didn't help out Little Big Planet PSP so much is that the PSP had been out for 4 or 5 years. It was, I mean, I would say at this point we can say it was starting to get on its last legs. I mean, it still had good games coming like Metal Gear Solid, Patapon and stuff, but I mean, it was reaching the end of its life. It would be nice to see how it could do on a new system that everyone's excited about. I imagine for the Little Big Planet community, it could sell a lot of systems, but just in general, I think it would be interesting to see how the community explodes if the system does even reasonably well.
Yep. There was some article I was reading this week talking about how, I forget how they quantified it. It was something to do with the most successful franchises, 90% of the most successful franchises for any gaming platform have came into existence within the first month of a system launch. And if you think about it, Little Big Planet is really one of the big IPs that Sony owns, and it was nothing to do with any launch of any system, not even the PSP Go. It came out soon after the PSP Go, but it wasn't really used to sell the system.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a big chance to say, hey, the next Little Big Planet game and the next new console, portable console, they're coming out at the same time. That's really exciting for both, I think.